Hello, my dear friends. Today we are going to talk about something that many English learners struggle with: how to speak naturally without forcing words. You may have noticed that sometimes when you speak in English, your words don't flow smoothly. You pause too much, search for the right words, or try too hard to sound correct. This makes you feel uncomfortable, and the person listening to you may also feel the same. But don't worry. In this guide, I will take a deep dive into this problem and provide practical tips and tricks to help you speak English naturally and confidently. The goal is to make your speech smooth, effortless, and engaging, just like a native speaker. I will explain these techniques in a different style, making it interesting and easy to understand. This guide will be like a friendly conversation, so you feel like you are learning from a friend, rather than reading a boring textbook. Let's get started. Understanding the problem. Why do you struggle to speak naturally? Before we move on to the solutions, let's understand why you feel like you are forcing words when speaking in English. Here are some common reasons. Thinking in your native language. When you translate words in your mind before speaking, your speech becomes slow and unnatural. English has different sentence structures, and direct translation doesn't always work. Fear of making mistakes. You hesitate because you are afraid of saying something wrong. This makes you overthink every word, which affects fluency. Lack of exposure to natural English. If you only study English from textbooks, your speech will sound robotic. Natural conversation includes slang, fillers, and expressions that textbooks don't always teach. Limited vocabulary. If you don't know enough words, you struggle to express yourself freely. You might pause too much or use the wrong words. Overuse of formal language. Many learners focus on grammatically perfect sentences instead of natural speech. Native speakers don't always speak in full, perfect sentences in casual conversations. Lack of confidence. If you are not confident, your voice sounds weak, and you struggle to express yourself naturally. Now that we understand the reasons, let's move on to the solutions. Tips and tricks to speak naturally without forcing words. 1. Think in English, not in your native language. One of the biggest mistakes English learners make is thinking in their native language first, and then translating it into English. This slows down your speech and makes it unnatural. How to train your mind to think in English. Start with simple words. Look around you and name objects in English. Example: table, window, phone. Describe what you are doing if you are walking. Think, I am walking to the store. Have an internal conversation in English. Think about your daily routine in English. Example: what should I eat for lunch? Maybe I'll have a sandwich. The more you think in English, the more natural your speech will become. Second, stop translating and use simple words. Many learners try to use complicated words because they think it makes them sound fluent. But fluency is about smoothness, not difficult words. What to do? Use simple and natural words instead of big, difficult ones. Speak the way you would in your native language. Don't try too hard. Focus on expressing meaning, not perfect grammar. Example: forced and unnatural. I am experiencing an extreme level of exhaustion. Natural and smooth. I am really tired. See the difference? Keep it simple. 3. Use fillers to sound more natural. Native speakers don't always speak in complete sentences. They use fillers like, um, you know, I mean, to sound more natural. Examples of fillers in conversation. Um, I think we should go to the park. It's really cold outside today. I didn't expect that to happen. Practice using fillers to make your speech sound more natural and relaxed. 4. Listen and imitate native speakers. Fluency comes from listening to natural English and imitating native speakers. How to do it? Watch English movies, TV shows, and YouTube videos. Pay attention to how native speakers talk in casual conversations. Notice how they pause, use fillers, and express emotions. Shadowing technique. Listen to a native speaker and repeat immediately after them. Copy their pronunciation, tone, and rhythm. 5. Speak every day, even if you are alone. The more you speak, the more natural you become. Ways to practice. Speaking daily. Talk to yourself. Stand in front of a mirror and speak in English. Example: Today, I will go shopping and buy some vegetables. Read aloud. Pick an article or book and read it aloud every day. Record yourself. Listen to your pronunciation and fluency. 6. Learn common phrases. Instead of individual words, speaking naturally is not about memorizing a dictionary. Instead, learn phrases that native speakers use. Examples of common phrases. Forced. Let's commence the meeting. Natural. Let's get started. Forced. I require assistance. Natural. Can you help me? 7. Relax and don't overthink. If you try too hard, your speech will sound unnatural. Just relax and speak freely. Don't worry about mistakes. Speak with confidence. Enjoy the conversation. Master the rhythm and flow of English speech. 1. Reason native speakers sound natural is because of rhythm, tone, and stress. English is a stress-timed language, which means some words are emphasized while others are spoken quickly. How to improve your rhythm. Listen to natural English and mimic it. Play an audio clip from a native speaker. Pause after each sentence and repeat it exactly the same way they say it. Focus on sentence stress. Example sentence: I want to go to the park today. Native speakers will stress want and park, while the other words are spoken faster. Practice with songs. Choose a slow song with clear pronunciation. Sing along and match the rhythm and tone. 9. Expand your speaking comfort zone with conversations many learners practice alone, but speaking with real people helps you gain confidence and natural fluency. What to do? Find a speaking partner. Join language exchange apps like Tandem, HelloTalk, or SpeakPal. Have daily 5-minute English conversations with a friend. Use the 3-2-1 speaking drill. Choose a topic. Speak for 3 minutes without stopping. Repeat, but speak for 2 minutes. Faster. Repeat again for 1 minute. Even faster. Talk to yourself in front of a mirror. Observe your expressions, tone, and confidence. Join online discussion groups. Facebook, Reddit, or WhatsApp groups related to English learning. The more you interact in English, the more natural your speech will become. 10. Reduce overthinking and hesitation. One of the biggest fluency killers is overthinking every sentence before speaking. To overcome this, you need spontaneous speaking practice. Exercise. The No Pause Challenge. Goal. Speak for 1 minute without pausing. Steps. Pick a simple topic, e.g., my morning routine. Set a timer for 1 minute. Start speaking and do not stop, even if you make mistakes. If you don't know a word, use a filler like well or you know. Repeat with a different topic. Why this works. Trains your brain to think fast in English. Stops the habit of pausing too much. Improves confidence in speaking. 11. Learn and use contractions like native speakers. Native speakers rarely say full words in casual conversations. Instead, they use contractions and connected speech. Examples of contractions in natural speech. Formal, forced. I'm going to the store. She does not like coffee. Natural and smooth. I'm gonna go to the store. She doesn't like coffee. Practice exercise. Listen to native speakers and write down the contractions they use. Then, practice saying them out loud. 12. Avoid perfectionism. Focus on communication. Many learners think fluency means perfect grammar. This is wrong. Fluency means you can express yourself easily, even with small grammar mistakes. What to focus on instead of grammar? Expressing ideas clearly. Even if you make mistakes, keep talking. Using body language, gestures help communication. Confidence and eye contact. Speak like you believe in your words. 13. Use storytelling to speak naturally. Instead of just answering questions, try telling a short story. This helps you speak in full sentences without forcing words. How to practice. Describe a real-life event. Think of a time you had an interesting experience. Example: yesterday I missed my bus, so I had to run to catch it. Tell a story about your day. Example: today I woke up late, but I still managed to reach work on time. Use the what happened next? Game. Start a short story and keep adding details. Why this helps? Makes your speech smooth and flowing. Helps you think in full sentences instead of short answers. 14. Think like a native speaker. Use idioms and expressions. Native speakers don't always use direct words. They use idioms, expressions, and slang to sound natural. Examples of natural expressions. Forced. I am very happy today. Natural and expressive. I'm on cloud 9 today, meaning I'm very happy. Forced. It is very easy. Natural and expressive. It's a piece of cake, meaning it's very easy. Practice. Learn 5 new idioms every week and use them in conversations. 15. Listen and reply instead of thinking too much. Many learners focus on what they will say next instead of listening carefully. This makes conversations feel unnatural and forced. Instead, try active listening. Listen fully before responding. Use natural responses like, "Oh, really? That's interesting. Wow, I didn't know that." Practice with these exercises. Watch interviews and note how people respond. Practice replying with short, natural reactions. 30-day natural speaking plan. Follow this 30-day challenge to speak naturally without forcing words. Week 1. Build confidence. Speak aloud daily for 5 minutes. Record yourself and listen. Week 2. Learn natural phrasing. Focus on contractions and fillers. Watch a TV show and repeat sentences. Week 3. Improve fluency. Try the no pause challenge. Have 3-minute conversations with a partner. Week 4. Master natural conversations. Join an online discussion. Have a full conversation using only English. Hi, my name is Emily Carter. I'm 22 years old and I live in Austin, Texas. I'm a college student studying business administration at the University of Texas. But today, I want to share something that isn't related to my studies. Something much more personal. My struggle with speaking English naturally. Even though I grew up in the United States, I've always had a fear of speaking, especially in social situations. I could read, write, and understand English perfectly fine, but when it came to speaking in conversations, I felt like I had to force my words. My sentences sounded unnatural, my mind went blank at times, and I always felt like I was searching for the right words. I wondered why some people could speak so effortlessly while I struggled so much. If you've ever felt this way, trust me, you're not alone. Speaking naturally isn't just about knowing the language, it's about confidence, rhythm, and practice. And today, I want to share my journey, my struggles, and everything I learned about how to speak English naturally without forcing words. The beginning of my struggle. Since childhood, I've been a quiet person. I wasn't the kind of kid who talked a lot in class. I loved reading books, writing essays, and listening to others speak. But when it was my turn to talk, I hesitated. In high school, I noticed that while my classmates spoke casually, I always second-guessed myself. One moment that really stuck with me was during a group project in my junior year. We had to present in front of the class. I had prepared everything well, but when I stood in front of everyone, my mouth went dry. My voice sounded robotic, like I was reading from a script. I wasn't speaking naturally, I was just trying to get through it. My classmates, on the other hand, spoke with confidence, using natural expressions, hand gestures, and a smooth flow. That was when I realized it's not just about knowing English, it's about knowing how to speak it. Why did I sound unnatural? After that experience, I started paying attention to how people around me spoke. I noticed some key differences. They didn't pause too much. Unlike me, they didn't stop in the middle of a sentence, searching for words. They used contractions and casual phrases. Instead of saying, "I do not know," they would say, "I don't know." It sounded more relaxed. Their tone was natural. They weren't just reciting words. They were expressing emotions through their voices. They used fillers, but in the right way. Words like, like, and you know, made their speech sound more natural, not forced. I realized that I was too focused on speaking correctly instead of speaking naturally. The turning point. A conversation that changed everything. One day, I was at a cafe with my best friend, Rachel Evans. Rachel was the opposite of me, confident, outgoing, and always speaking effortlessly. I told her about my problem, and she laughed. Not in a mean way, but in a way that said, "Oh, I know exactly what you mean." She said, "Emily, the problem is that you're thinking too much. You're treating conversations like a speech. Just talk like you're talking to me now." I was confused. But I don't want to sound unprofessional or use the wrong words. She shook her head. That's the problem. You're so afraid of making mistakes that you're not letting yourself be natural. Just speak like you're thinking out loud. That moment changed my perspective. I realized that I wasn't allowing myself to be myself when speaking. The steps I took to speak naturally. From that day on, I started making small changes in the way I spoke. Here's what helped me the most. 1. Stop translating in my head. One big mistake I made was trying to form perfect sentences in my head before speaking. This made my speech slow and unnatural. Instead, I practiced thinking directly in English. I did this by talking to myself in English when I was alone, narrating my actions in English. Okay, I'm making coffee now. Should I add sugar? Watching TV shows and repeating lines naturally. 2. Practiced speaking without a script. At first, I thought I needed to plan what to say in every situation, but that made my speech robotic. So, I started practicing conversations without planning. For example, instead of preparing what to say when ordering food, I just spoke whatever came naturally. If I made a mistake, I didn't stop. I just corrected myself and moved on. When the day came, I stood in front of the class and took a deep breath. Instead of reciting, I just talked. I used hand gestures, changed my tone naturally, and even made eye contact. When I finished, my professor smiled and said, "That was a great presentation, Emily. Very natural delivery." That moment was proof that everything I had worked on was paying off. An unexpected moment that changed everything. One of the most interesting things that happened to me while trying to speak naturally was something I never expected. It was embarrassing at first, but in the end, it turned into a moment of confidence that changed how I viewed speaking English forever. So, here's what happened. I was at a small networking event for students interested in business. It was a casual gathering with free snacks and drinks, and I thought it would be a great opportunity to meet people and practice speaking naturally. At first, I was nervous, but I reminded myself of everything I had learned. Relax. Just talk. Don't overthink. The embarrassing mistake. I walked up to a small group of students who were already chatting and introduced myself. "Hey, I'm Emily. Nice to meet you all." They smiled and welcomed me into the conversation. We started talking about school, internships, and future plans. Then I wanted to say something casual like, "Oh, that sounds like a great opportunity." But instead, I accidentally said, "Oh, that sounds like a great octopus." The second I realized what I said, I froze. My brain panicked. Octopus! Where did that even come from? The group went silent for a second. Then, they burst into laughter. One guy, named Jake, wiped a tear from his eye and said, "Did you just say octopus?" I felt my face turn bright red. I could have run away in embarrassment, but instead, I just laughed along with them. Yeah, I meant to say opportunity, but I guess my brain wanted seafood instead. The laughter got even louder. And you know what? That moment changed everything. How that mistake helped me speak more naturally. After that, I realized something huge. People don't care if you make mistakes. They care about how you react to them. If I had gotten embarrassed and stopped talking, the moment would have been awkward. But because I laughed it off and kept going, the conversation actually became more fun. From that day on, I stopped being so afraid of messing up. If I said something wrong, I just corrected myself and moved on. And guess what? That little octopus mistake actually made people remember me. Weeks later, I ran into Jake again, and the first thing he said was, "Hey, it's the octopus girl. How's it going?" It became a funny inside joke, and I even made a few good friends from that night. The lesson: don't fear mistakes. Enjoy the moment. So, if you're worried about forcing your words when speaking English, here's my advice. Don't be afraid to mess up. Sometimes, the mistakes make conversations even better. People don't expect you to be perfect. They just want to connect with you. And the more relaxed and natural you are, the easier it becomes to speak fluently. A conversation that changed everything. After the octopus incident, I felt much more relaxed about speaking English. Instead of worrying about mistakes, I just focused on enjoying conversations. But there was one more experience that truly showed me the power of speaking naturally. It happened on a rainy afternoon in a coffee shop. I had just ordered my usual, a caramel latte, when I noticed a girl sitting alone at a corner table. She looked frustrated, staring at her laptop screen with a deep sigh. Something about her expression made me curious. Normally, I wouldn't start a conversation with a stranger, but after everything I had learned about speaking naturally, I decided to give it a try. I walked over and, without overthinking, said, "Hey, I hope I'm not bothering you, but you look like you could use a break." She looked up, surprised at first, but then she smiled. "Oh my God, yes! I've been stuck on this for hours," she said, pushing her laptop away. I sat down across from her and asked, "What are you working on?" "A business proposal for my internship. I have all the ideas in my head, but when I try to write them down, nothing sounds right," she explained. I laughed and said, "I get that. I used to feel the same way when I started speaking English. My thoughts were clear in my head, but when I tried to speak, it came out like a mess." That got her attention. She tilted her head and said, "Wait, English isn't your first language? But you sound so natural." That was the first time anyone had ever said that to me. I smiled, feeling a mix of pride and disbelief. Me? Speaking naturally? If only she knew how much I had struggled before. Sharing my journey, I told her my story. The awkward moments, the mistakes, the octopus incident. She laughed so hard she nearly spilled her coffee. "That's amazing! So how did you stop feeling nervous about speaking?" she asked. I thought about it for a second, then said, "I stopped worrying about being perfect. I realized that speaking isn't about using fancy words or sounding smart. It's about connecting with people. Once I focused on the conversation instead of my mistakes, everything got easier." She nodded slowly, taking in my words. "Wow, that actually makes sense. I think I do the same thing with my writing. I keep trying to make it perfect instead of just getting my ideas out." I smiled. "Exactly. Just write like you're having a conversation. The words will come naturally." She took a deep breath and opened her laptop again. "You just changed my whole perspective," she said with a grin. "By the way, I'm Sophia." That's how I made a new friend, just by starting a simple, natural conversation. The moment I knew I had changed. As I walked out of the coffee shop that day, I realized something important. Speaking English naturally wasn't just about language. It was about confidence. It was about trusting myself. It was about connecting with people without fear. That's when I knew I had finally overcome my struggle. And the best part? I didn't just improve my speaking, I also learned how to help others feel more confident too. An unforgettable invitation. A few weeks after meeting Sophia at the coffee shop, I received a message from her. Hey, Emily. My company is hosting a networking event this Friday. I know you're interested in business, and I think you'd love it. Want to come? At first, I hesitated. A networking event meant talking to a lot of strangers, which could be intimidating. But then I remembered how much I had improved. I had already learned to speak naturally, and this was a great chance to push myself even further. So, I replied, "That sounds awesome. Count me in." Stepping into a new challenge, Friday arrived, and I found myself standing outside a modern glass building in downtown New York. I took a deep breath and walked inside. The event was in a large conference room filled with professionals, students, and entrepreneurs. People stood in small groups, chatting over drinks and appetizers. As soon as I walked in, Sophia waved me over. "Emily, you made it," she said, hugging me. "Come on, I'll introduce you to some people." She led me to a group of professionals who were discussing marketing strategies. They all seemed confident and experienced. A year ago, I would have felt completely out of place. But now I reminded myself, just talk, be yourself, don't overthink. So I smiled and said, "Hi, I'm Emily. Nice to meet you all." And just like that, the conversation began. An unexpected connection. As the night went on, I found myself talking to different people, business owners, marketing experts, even startup founders. At one point, I was speaking with a man named Daniel, who ran his own digital marketing company. He was explaining how his business worked when he suddenly asked, "So, Emily, what do you do?" I hesitated for a moment. I was still a student, but I wanted to say something meaningful. So, instead of just saying, "I'm studying business," I confidently said, "I'm a business student, but I'm really passionate about communication. I love helping people feel more confident in speaking, especially in English." Daniel raised an eyebrow and smiled. "That's interesting. So, you help people improve their speaking skills?" I nodded. "Yeah, I've been through the struggle myself, and now I enjoy helping others overcome it too." Daniel thought for a moment and then said something that completely shocked me. "I actually run a side project where we train employees in professional communication. We're looking for fresh perspectives. Would you be interested in an internship?" Wait, what? I blinked in surprise. Me? Getting an internship opportunity just from a conversation? The power of natural conversations. I couldn't believe it. Just a year ago, I was terrified of speaking. And now, here I was, having a completely natural conversation, so natural that it led to a real career opportunity. I smiled and said, "That sounds amazing. I'd love to learn more." Daniel handed me his business card. "Let's set up a meeting next week. I'd love to hear your ideas." At that moment, I realized something important. Speaking naturally isn't just about feeling confident. It can open doors you never expected. Looking back and moving forward. As I left the event that night, I felt a new level of confidence. I had officially overcome my fear of speaking. But more importantly, I had learned that when you speak naturally, when you connect with people without forcing your words, Amazing things can happen. A year ago, I was afraid to order coffee in English. Now, I was walking away from a networking event with a potential internship, helping Alex speak naturally. A few months after my networking event, I was sitting in my favorite coffee shop when my phone buzzed. It was a message from Alex, a friend I had met in one of my business classes. Alex, "Hey Emily, can we meet up? I really need your help with something." I replied instantly, "Of course!" "Meet me at the coffee shop in 30 minutes? 30 minutes later, Alex walked in, looking frustrated. He ordered a black coffee, sat across from me, and sighed. "Emily, I don't know what to do. I understand English perfectly. I can write well. But when I speak, I feel like a mess." I smiled, because I knew exactly what he was going through. "I get it, Alex. I used to feel the same way. What's making you so frustrated right now?" He leaned forward, lowering his voice. "I've been applying for internships, and I got called for an interview, but the moment I have to talk in English, my mind freezes. I start thinking too much, and my words feel unnatural." I nodded. "That's completely normal. You're overthinking it because you're trying too hard to sound perfect." He frowned. "But I have to speak properly in an interview, right?" "Yes, but properly doesn't mean perfectly. It means confidently. Let me ask you something. When you text in English, do you overthink every word?" "No, I just type whatever comes to my mind." "Exactly. Speaking is the same. It should feel natural, like a conversation, not a test." Alex's struggle. Alex sighed. "I get what you're saying, but it's easier said than done. When I speak, I feel like I'm searching for the right words. And when I don't find them fast enough, I panic." I smiled. "That's because you're focusing on the wrong thing. Instead of thinking about the right words, focus on the message. What do you actually want to say?" "I guess I just want to express myself without sounding awkward." "Then stop thinking about words and start thinking about the conversation." I pulled out my phone and started a voice recording. "Let's do something fun. Imagine I'm the interviewer. Tell me about yourself." Alex hesitated, but then started. Hi, my name is Alex. I, um, I am studying business and I want to work in marketing. I think marketing is, interesting because it helps, companies grow." I stopped the recording and played it back. He winced. "I sound terrible." I laughed. "No, you don't. You sound like someone who's thinking too much. But let's try something different. Forget English. Just tell me about yourself in your native language." He blinked. "Really?" "Yes. Just talk, like you're introducing yourself to a friend." Alex took a deep breath and started speaking in his first language. This time, he sounded completely different, relaxed, confident, and natural. When he finished, I smiled. "See? That's how you should sound in English, too." "But how?" "In my language. I don't have to think about words." "Exactly. And that's the mindset you need in English. Stop focusing on words. Just express your ideas naturally." Fixing the problem. Alex looked thoughtful. "Okay, but how do I do that in real situations?" I took out a napkin and wrote, "Checkmark, think in English, not your native language. Focus on ideas, not perfect words. Speak without stopping, even if you make mistakes. Talk like you're texting a friend. Relax. Breathe. Enjoy the conversation. Here's your homework, Alex. For the next 3 days, I want you to practice speaking without stopping. Even if you make mistakes, don't correct yourself. Just keep going. That sounds difficult. It will be at first, but trust me, it works. A small win. 3 days later, Alex called me. Emily, it worked! I still made mistakes, but I felt way more natural. And guess what? I had a casual conversation with my neighbor in English without feeling nervous. I grinned. That's amazing, see? You just needed to stop overthinking. Alex laughed. Yeah, I guess I was making it harder than it needed to be. Exactly. Speaking naturally is just about being yourself. A week later, Alex went for his interview, and when he walked out, he sent me a message. I did it! I spoke naturally, and they liked me. Even if I don't get the job, I feel like I finally overcame my fear of speaking. I smiled at my phone, feeling so proud of him. Because just like me, Alex had finally learned the biggest lesson of all. A new beginning for Alex. A few days after Alex's interview, we met up at the same coffee shop. The moment he walked in, I could see something was different. He wasn't nervous or frustrated anymore. Instead, he looked excited. I grinned. So, how did it go? Alex sat down, his eyes shining with excitement. Emily, I can't believe it. I got the internship. My jaw dropped. No way. That's amazing. Tell me everything. My jaw dropped. No way. That's amazing. Tell me everything. He laughed. Honestly, I was still a little nervous before the interview, but I kept reminding myself, just talk, be natural, focus on the message. And you were right. It worked. I didn't try to sound perfect. I just had a conversation, and they liked me for who I am. I clapped my hands. I told you, speaking naturally is the key. He nodded. Yeah, and you know what? At the end of the interview, the manager even said, You're a great communicator, Alex. We need people like you on our team. Can you believe that? MEA, great communicator. I laughed. See? You always had it in you. You just had to stop overthinking. A newfound confidence. After that, Alex started embracing every opportunity to speak in English. One day, he told me, I used to avoid conversations because I was afraid of making mistakes. But now, I actually enjoy talking to people. He even started making friends with native English speakers, joining business discussions, and sharing his ideas confidently in class. One afternoon, he called me, his voice full of excitement. Emily, you won't believe what just happened. I smiled. Tell me. So, at my internship today, we had a team meeting. I was nervous, but I reminded myself to just speak naturally. I shared my thoughts about a project, and guess what? The manager loved my idea. I gasped. No way! That's incredible. Yeah, he even said, Alex, you explain things really well. Keep sharing your ideas. I felt so proud. That's because you're finally speaking with confidence, and confidence makes all the difference. The final lesson. A few weeks later, we were sitting at the same coffee shop, reflecting on how far we had come. Alex leaned back in his chair, smiling. Emily, do you remember when I first told you about my speaking problem? I laughed. Of course! You were so frustrated back then. Yeah. And now, here I am, feeling completely comfortable speaking in English. It's crazy. I nodded. It's not crazy. You worked for it. You stopped forcing words and started enjoying conversations. That's the secret. Alex grinned. Yeah, and you know what? If I could do it, anyone can. I raised my coffee cup. Exactly. To speaking naturally, without fear. A journey of growth. As weeks passed, Alex continued to improve. He no longer hesitated when speaking, and his confidence grew stronger every day. One afternoon, he called me, his voice filled with excitement. Emily, I have something crazy to tell you. I laughed. What now? Another promotion? Not yet. But something even better. I got invited to give a small presentation at my internship. I nearly dropped my phone. Wait, you? Giving a presentation in English? Yes! Can you believe it? Just a few months ago, I couldn't even introduce myself properly. And now, they trust me enough to speak in front of the team. I smiled, feeling so proud of him. That's amazing, Alex. So are you nervous? A little, but it's different this time. Before, I was afraid of messing up. Now, I just want to share my ideas. And I know if I focus on the message, not the words, I'll be fine. I felt a rush of happiness. That's it. That's exactly the mindset you need. Alex took a deep breath. Yeah, I guess I've finally learned to trust myself. The big moment, the day of his presentation arrived. I sent him a message. Good luck. Just be yourself. You've got this. A few hours later, he called me. His voice was shaking, but with excitement. Emily, it was perfect. I grinned. Tell me everything. At first, I felt a little nervous, but I reminded myself to just have a conversation. So instead of reading from my notes, I spoke naturally. And guess what? People actually listened. They asked questions, and I answered them without hesitation. I cheered. That's incredible, Alex. And the best part? After the presentation, my manager came up to me and said, Alex, you're a great speaker. We'd love to have you lead more discussions in the future. Me, a leader! Can you believe it? Tears filled my eyes. I can believe it, Alex, because I always knew you had it in you. He laughed. Well, I couldn't have done it without you. That night, I thought about how much had changed. Alex had transformed from someone who struggled to form a sentence to someone who spoke with confidence and clarity. The best part? He had finally realized that fluency isn't about being perfect. It's about being yourself. The next day, we met up at our favorite coffee shop again. Alex grinned as he took a sip of his coffee. Emily, you know what I realized? What? Speaking naturally isn't just about English. It's about life. When you stop forcing things and start trusting yourself, everything becomes easier. A new mission. After that day, Alex didn't just stop at improving himself. He wanted to help others too. He started noticing people around him struggling with the same fears he once had. One evening, he called me. Emily, remember how I used to feel scared about speaking? I just met a guy at my internship who's going through the same thing. I leaned forward. Oh? Tell me about it. His name is David. He's really smart, but he avoids speaking in meetings because he's afraid of making mistakes. It's exactly how I used to feel. I smiled. So, what did you do? I told him my story. I shared how I used to force words and worry too much, and how everything changed when I just let go and spoke naturally. Wow, Alex, that's amazing. How did he react? He was shocked. He said, "Wait, you used to struggle too? But you sound so confident." And I told him, confidence isn't about knowing all the words. It's about trusting yourself. I felt a deep sense of pride. See, you're inspiring people now, just like I did for you. Yeah, and it feels so good to help someone the way you helped me. An unexpected opportunity. One day, Alex's manager approached him with an idea. Alex, you've improved so much. I've noticed how comfortable you are in meetings now. Would you be interested in mentoring some of our new interns? His eyes widened. Me? A mentor? Yes! We have some international interns who struggle with confidence in English. You'd be perfect for helping them. That night, he called me. Emily, can you believe this? They actually want me to help others with English. I laughed. Of course I can believe it. You've worked so hard, Alex. Now, it's time to pass on what you've learned. Yeah, and honestly, I want to. I know how painful it is to feel stuck. If I can help just one person feel more confident, it's worth it. Full circle weeks later, we met up again at our favorite coffee shop. Alex looked different, not just confident, but fulfilled. Emily, I had my first mentoring session today, and guess what? It felt amazing. I smiled. Tell me everything. So I met this new intern, Sophia. She reminded me so much of myself. Smart, hardworking, but terrified of speaking. She told me, I understand English, but I can't speak naturally. And I just smiled and said, I know exactly how you feel. I nodded, feeling emotional. That must have meant so much to her. It did, and I shared my journey, just like you did for me. I told her that speaking isn't about being perfect, it's about being real. And you know what? By the end of our session, she was laughing and talking without overthinking. I clapped my hands. That's incredible, Alex. He took a deep breath, smiling. You know, I used to think my English struggles were a curse, but now I realize they were a gift, because without them, I wouldn't be able to help others. I felt a lump in my throat. And that's why your journey matters. Not just for you, but for everyone who needs to hear it. Alex raised his coffee cup. To speaking naturally. I lifted mine too. To speaking naturally and helping others do the same. A ripple effect. After Alex started mentoring new interns, something amazing happened. His story began to inspire even more people. One evening, he called me, his voice filled with excitement. Emily, something crazy happened today. I laughed. You always have something crazy to tell me. What is it this time? So remember Sophia, the intern I was mentoring? Of course. How's she doing? She's improving so much. But today, she told me something that shocked me. She helped another intern who was struggling with the same problem. My eyes widened. Wait, so now she's inspiring others too? Yes, she said. Alex, if you could do it, and I'm doing it, then why can't I help someone else? It's like a chain reaction. I grinned. That's amazing, Alex. It means your journey isn't just about you anymore. It's spreading. He took a deep breath. Yeah, and it makes me realize something. Every time we overcome a struggle, we have the power to help someone else do the same. A bigger stage. A few weeks later, Alex's manager surprised him with another opportunity. Alex, we're hosting a company seminar about communication skills. Would you be interested in sharing your journey with everyone? His heart pounded. Wait, like speaking in front of the entire team? Yes. You've come such a long way. You'd be the perfect person to talk about overcoming fear and speaking with confidence. That night, he called me in a panic. Emily, I don't know if I can do this. I smiled. Alex, do you remember the first time we talked about speaking naturally? Yeah. And do you remember how terrified you were to even introduce yourself? Yeah. And now you're telling me you can't do this? Alex, look at how far you've come. This isn't about being perfect, it's just another conversation. And you know how to do that now. He took a deep breath. You're right. I do know how to do that. The big day, the day of the seminar arrived. I sat in the audience, watching as Alex stepped onto the stage. He looked nervous at first, but then something changed. He took a deep breath, smiled, and spoke. A year ago, I wouldn't have been able to stand here. I was afraid of speaking in English because I thought I had to sound perfect. But then I realized something. Fluency isn't about knowing every word. It's about trusting yourself, embracing mistakes, and focusing on the message, not just the words. The audience was silent, hanging on to his every word. I used to think my struggle was a weakness, but now I see it was my greatest strength, because it taught me resilience. And today, I want to tell all of you, if I can do it, so can you. The room erupted in applause, and as Alex walked off the stage, he met my eyes and smiled. He had done it. The journey never ends. After the seminar, Alex received countless messages from people thanking him for sharing his story. Some told him they felt inspired to start speaking without fear. Others asked for advice on how to improve, and that's when he realized this was only the beginning. One evening, we sat at our favorite coffee shop, reflecting on everything. Alex stirred his coffee, smiling. You know, Emily, I used to think learning English was just about words and grammar. But now, I see it's so much more than that. I nodded. It's about confidence. It's about connection. It's about finding your voice. He raised his cup. And now, it's about helping others do the same. I smiled, clinking my cup against his. To speaking naturally, always. And with that, we knew. Our journey with English had turned into something much greater. It had become a story of growth, courage, and the power of believing in yourself. The end, or maybe just the beginning,